Hey coaches, my name is Natalie Poole. I'm the head softball coach at the University of Memphis. I've been coaching D1 softball for 19 years and love the opportunity to be able to speak to you today regarding slapping in the speed game. All throughout my career, I've recruited quite a few slappers who've accomplished some really great things collegiately and feel like after gathering information from them, as well as some other slappers that have been successful at the Division I level and in college in general, and just talking through some of their challenges as well as some of their successes. Just want to share some information with you that I think would be helpful as you are working to develop some talented student athletes that might have some potential to be great slappers and utilizing their speed in the best way possible. I'm going to be sharing a presentation that I have. And so if after this time with you, if there's anything that you have questions about, I'd be more than happy to help you. All you have to do is just reach out to me. But I definitely look forward to doing that. So we're going to hop right into my presentation. I'm going to share my screen with you. And you can just follow along with the presentation that I've got. So, so this presentation is just, this page here shows two of my former student athletes who had some pretty great success in college. Both of them were able to come in and do some pretty amazing things, from, bunting to chopping or soft slapping to hard slap. And at times standing in and swinging as well. And so we're able to use all parts of their game, and they were definitely multidimensional, which is something that we encourage. I want to talk a little bit about our philosophy. Our philosophy regarding slappers is that we definitely believe that they're difference makers in offense. It's great when you've got a kid that's got some speed, but the speed's no good on the bench. So, we want some kids who see the ball well, track the ball well, have good body awareness, and are able to do some things to put pressure on defense. And that's one of the things that we love about that is, I think when you put pressure on continuously on defenses, they scramble, they struggle. And so this is a great tool to have in your lineup to be able to use. Definitely as far as on base percentage, we're looking for people who can steal a lot of bases, people who know how to get on. So not just people who can make contact, but to do that in a variety of ways, as well as be able to utilize their speed once they get on to do some damage. And then to us, we feel like with slappers, there's just so many options, as you can see that I've listed here, but they can drag bunt, which is a surprise bunt for some people who call it that. And we have soft slaps, chops, hard slaps, fake drag to a hard slap, or fake drag to a soft slap, or even a fake drag to a drag, actually. And then even standing into swing. And we've had some good success with that. Some of our kids have had to work up to that point, and some of them weren't even ready to do that by the end of their career, but we definitely able to kind of stretch what they were able to do and grow their game with a couple of these things as some of their areas of emphasis. Owning your game. I think that there's different ways to categorize people when it comes to slapping. And I've seen this a little bit in some other slappers who've come out of college. And for us, there's one that's either going to be your speed demon. Those are your kids that are going to really push that speed part of the game. You're going to have some that are called the barrel finder. So they just run through the box. Their speed may not be as strong as the speed demon, and they're not going to place a ball. They're going to just go, and they're looking to put the bat on the ball and then just try to get down the line as quickly as possible. They're not going to be those ones that can place and do some things like that. So they are a little bit more vulnerable because they are kind of moving through accelerated and sometimes not worried and focused as much on deep contact as they should be at times. But the strategist is that one that places the ball exactly where they want to. For us, we've had some kids who've been able to place the ball to the right side where it gets the pitcher coming up and in, second baseman, first baseman, just them trying to figure out who's going to field it. And it's just been able to cause some chaos. And that's really what we want to do. Hitters who can slap. We've had some of that before. I've got one currently in my lineup who is a hitter every day, but if she had to resort to a slap, if she's struggling to make contact, then we've got that option. and then also slappers who can hit. And I've also been able to experience some success with that. And not always. I have just a few who come through my programs who've been able to do both. But whenever they can, it's pretty awesome. And also, again, it just adds another tool in their toolbox. We will definitely work different skills independent of others. We'll try to focus on one hard strength and one soft strength. And I think because of that, that helps them grow with that part of their game. If every day they're trying to work on bunts, soft slaps, hard slaps, chops, swinging, they're never going to become great at one or two of those things. And so we try to individualize and focus on just a couple of those things, and then build out from there. And so as long as we've got something hard and something soft, we feel like we're at a good starting point. And that could be a drag bunt and then a hard slap, or, drag bunt and a chop or something like that. So we'll dive into what those actually look like and what they're defined as. Some of the basic mechanics that we're always looking for regarding the slapper clearly is their vision affects footwork timing. So what they see is going to start everything in motion. And clearly we want them to start pretty late, not early. And so because of that, it's important for them to understand what they're looking at, when they're looking in, to make sure that they're tracking the ball deep. And so the vision is going to affect a lot of what they do to start. The feet are going to begin to move once we see the ball of the pitcher's hand. If any of the girls are struggling with timing, what I always do is I just tell them, I do not want you to start until you see the ball come out of her hand completely. And then from there, if that's too late for you, if you're not able to get your barrel where you want it to be or whatever, then they can kind of work back from there. But to start before that and to kind of guess about when to start can be challenging, and we don't want them to be guessing. Of course, clearly now the feet have to stay completely within the batter's box, and I know that's created some challenges. Some of us have started with a little bit more of an open stance. Some of my athletes have, where that front foot is set back a little bit further away from the plate to create a clear path, so they're not diving in so hard and across. But it's important that they work on staying within. We don't want those at bats taken away from them unnecessarily. The pivot and the crossover versus the drop step and the crossover. So clearly you can drop that first step back and then cross over with that back foot. That's not really what we teach. If I've got a kid who does it and does it well, I'm not going to mess with it. But for those who are working on some foundational pieces, if I were teaching it from the ground up, I would teach basically a front pivot with that front foot at about a 45 degree angle towards the shortstop, and then to load onto that quad and then to cross over. So basically that's about it. I would not draw that foot back if I had a choice to teach someone from the ground up. And that's just so that they can work on always gaining ground, not just replacing and not gaining much ground whenever they move. As the back foot crosses over, the quad's going to be flexed. The front quad is going to be flexed with the heel up. So as they load into that front toe that opens up, they're loading into that front quad, and it's going to be flexed into a bent position. And you'll see that in some of the work that you see them do in a few slides down this presentation. And so that kind of makes sure that they are loaded into that quad, and that creates their base. They should not be on their tippy toes whenever they're running through the box. They want to create a good base, and this is going to help them do that. They'll cross over at the front corner of the batter's box with the left foot pointed towards the shortstop. If they turn it too much towards the first base, they're probably going to be it's going to be hard for them to keep their upper body in. So we want to make sure that we stay in a good position to be able to maintain a good chest towards the plate. But they are going to work towards that front corner. Their hips are definitely going to open up at crossover, but at the same time, that upper body is going to be working independently of that. And it's going to work to stay in, chest in, and hands back on the initial crossover. And then just something for you guys to know is to always make sure the footwork stays consistent, whether they're drag bunting, whether they're chopping, whether they're hard slapping, to always look the same. I think that those are telling signs whenever we watch and we call pitches against people, or we're playing defense against people. We're looking for those telling signs to know exactly what they're about to do. sometimes positioning in the box too. So make sure you're consistent with all of those things. And then always work with a barrier. So we always place a PVC pipe or some type of barrier in front of their feet, between their feet and home plate. So that way they always have it, and it's mobile. So they can pick it up and take with them from station to station, which we feel like is very important because sometimes they don't have a lot of batter's box awareness. And we want to make sure that they do that no matter where they are and what they're doing. You can see the video here as my slapper is loading. She just pivots her foot and loads into that quad position and then crosses over. And then if you look at her chest is still pointing towards a plate and her hands are back. I'm going to go ahead and play the video while this is going, just so you can see. I want to talk a little bit about upper body. So in creating rhythm, you know, there's this thing about creating rhythm or whether you should have a really still upper body. And I think that's kind of up to you. Some of our slappers like to have a real still bat to start, but many of them like to have a little bit of bat movement, and that's okay. If you look at, this is my player, Sam, if you look at her as she crosses over, she's still able to maintain a good chest towards the plate at crossover. You do not also see her hands slide forward at all. Her hands stay back by that back shoulder, and they don't come down. They don't separate away from the shoulder by going down, by going away. They maintain a good early connection, and that's what we call an early connection, is that part right there. The barrel path itself will be varied based on the end goal. So if she's looking to soft slap or to chop, clearly that barrel is going to stay above her hands. But if she's looking to hard slap, then that barrel is going to level out. And so she's got to be able to get it on plane. And that barrel plane is also can be dictated by the shoulder and what the shoulder, if the shoulder comes down, that's going to change the plane down a little bit more flat. She maintains a good shoulders here. She has the ability to keep that barrel above her hands. And so it's going to vary based on what she's trying to do. I'm going to work this video at the same time as I talk a little bit. So for us, for soft slaps, basically we're just looking to put something really soft. Sometimes we'll guide that towards first base, which is when that barrel will come out in front. More often than not, though, we're trying to do something soft with an early bounce if we can, but nothing real hard. You see her, she's not finishing her swing. She's starting late. And so our intent here is to work the ball to the infield and to get an infield hit. It can be used to move a runner if we feel like we need to get the defenders to come in. And so we definitely want to have a deep connection here. We do not want to hit the ball out front where our barrel can get more flat. We want to make sure we leave late, that we've got good quick feet, that they're consistent. We want to hit, if we can, towards the end, and we also want to hit the middle to the top of the ball. Our nose is over our front toe, so if you were to look at her weight, you can see that she's out. Her nose will be over that front toe with her weight. She's not going to be back at all on this because she's working the top of the ball. And so a lot of times if I find that they're flattening out a good bit, I will talk to them about making sure that nose is out over the toe to help create that angle for them. And so they'll keep their hands close to their body. The barrel's going to stay above the hand. Sometimes our girls like to choke up for a little bit more support, but they need to make sure they don't choke up until they're about to get the barrel towards the ball, because I don't want them to slide up too early and give too much, giving away. That's one of the things that we do a lot, is we just really hound in on as our defenders on making sure that we're watching whether there's any hand movement to slide up on the barrel, to see if they're going to bunch, see if they're going to soft slap, and that kind of gives us a little bit of an indication. So you can see she keeps that front elbow down. She's not looking to get any lift on the ball, so she's going to work down the whole way through, and that's going to help her create that angle. Okay. We definitely want to get runner defenders in motion. We want to make sure that they're having to come for the ball. So here's some examples of going too hard. Sorry. What you're going to find here in that first video is you're going to see somebody working to the right side. It's one of my slappers who really did a great job of creating that angle, and you can see that barrel come out in front. She just brings it right out front. She's looking to do something soft. right there. She would give a lot of trouble to that pitcher, that first baseman, and that second baseman trying to figure out what to do. In that middle video, as you can see, the ball's just bouncing too hard right there. It's not soft enough. And so when that happens, basically that's going to be like a one hopper to the shortstop, or it's one that's going to get to the shortstop too quick. And in that next video, she's trying to create an angle to the right side as well, just getting that barrel out in front. She's not looking for bat speed. She's not swinging all the way through. She's got a pretty still barrel, and that barrel staying above the hands. I want to talk a little bit about the chop. So, some people call different things different verbiage, and that's fine. For us, we also talk about the chop. So instead of just a soft slap like that, we'll do a chop where we come at it with a little bit better bat speed. So if we found that the corners are tight because they anticipate a bunt or a soft slap, this is where we do something a little bit harder, something where we can maybe create a higher bounce where the ball lingers in the air a little bit longer. We typically will do that if corners are tight. If we see middle infield is weak or that they have a slow release, then we're looking to do this chop because they're going to be rushed to get the ball once they get it and get rid of it. So we are looking to bounce the ball. We're trying to allow time to get to first base. Again, nose over the front toe. Our job is to use the ground significantly. So we don't want to have flat hands. We don't want to be back behind the ball. We want to make sure that we're out front. So with our weight. Again, we're going to keep our hands close to the body and back as we cross over. So as we cross over, our hands should still be back. They should not be coming out in front. You're going to have real loose hands until contact, and then you're going to make that contact is going to be deep. You don't want that contact to be out front because your barrel head's going to flatten out. The same bat speed as a hard slap. So this is why deep contact is important, because we want to make sure that we work this and we work the right angles. We want that elbow down and we want our finish down. So we're looking to work straight over this and break this wrist through contact. So we definitely need good wrist action at contact. We're looking for an early bounce and we're looking for a high bounce. Our vision is always going to be looking for the top of the ball here. So when I think about the ball and we think about the light to the dark side of the ball, and if the light is coming from above, then we're looking for that light spot so that our vision is very fine-tuned to that particular area. So you could watch her right there. She's not stopping her swing here. She's finishing her swing. And she's just working to get a bounce that's going to linger in the air for a while, and it's going to get a little bit more height than that soft slap. And so sometimes they can control where they do it. Sometimes it's just the fact that the ball lingers in the air for a while and gets us the height that we need. Our field's pretty hard, so we're able to get a real nice bounce and a nice delay to be able to allow our kids to get out of the batter's box. But you can just kind of see hands are back at crossover, so she has a real deep connection there. She's not making contact out front. Here's some more examples of the chop. And I'm going to show you again. You can kind of take a look at all three. So in that first one, you can see that she's working that ball in a real hard bounce there. That ball's going to get quite a bit of air, which is really nice. In that second one in the middle, you can see where she's getting her barrel head too flat, and we don't want that. She's not getting that turnover on that wrist where that wrist goes down over the front of the ball, and so which is what we're trying to create. In that last video, you can see where she's working on and she's able to get that. And the ball can shoot through the middle kind of quickly. Sometimes it can beat the infield, so that bounce will linger. It'll gain some speed, but sometimes it'll also gain some height. So you'll have some misses here and there. The main thing for us is that if we miss over the top of it. And that way we work the ball down. We don't want to miss underneath like we do in the middle here where she's missing too flat and that ball is just going to one hop the shortstop really quick, and is not what we want to do. The hard slap. So here we're looking to have something on the line, hit on the line, hard line drive, a hard ball hit through the infield. our ball in the gap. And on our hard slaps, we're going to have some misses, and our misses are going to be a little bit under, and our misses are going to be a little bit over. And the reason why is because we're working to work behind the ball now. So when we do this, we're less concerned about the ground, but we will end up hitting some hard balls through the infield on the ground, and there will be some times where we get the ball up and it travels. And so you are going to have some misses, but that's okay. We're going hard, and just simply because of that alone and people playing you in, you'll be able to shoot a ball through passing people. So on this, your nose is going to be behind the front toe. And so you're going to see a change in where the weight is. And so when they are, they're going to be back behind it a little bit. And so they work back behind the ball here. So their hands are going to be back and closer to their body at crossover. And as their hips open up on the crossover, that bat's going to get on playing with the ball. And that's going to happen because of your shoulder. So as that hip begins to open, this shoulder will dictate where the bat will get on playing to what height the ball is at. So if the ball is lower, that shoulder should be lower. If the ball is higher, that shoulder should be more level. And so the shoulder is going to dictate what level you're going to be hitting the ball on, and that barrel should stay level with it as it rotates around. You're not going to be rushing when you're doing this. Because you want to stay behind the ball. So you want to make sure that in the initial phases that we work to get through the ball before rushing out of the box. You may shorten up the front side of your swing a little bit, but you should get all the way through extension on a hard slap. And then your vision is going to be the back of the ball. So we kind of talk about different areas to zone your vision in. And this is one of those ones where now you change your vision to hit the back of the ball more rather than the top of the ball. So we're going to work here, and you can kind of see this and just kind of watch it over and over again. Her shoulder is just nice and level there. It sees that pitch probably about waist high, so the shoulder plane doesn't have to change much. And you can see that barrel just stay connected right there with that shoulder as it rotates around. And she works right through that. She uses that lower half as she crosses over to help drive through. Head stays at the point of contact, and she's able to extend through that ball. That ball comes off nice and on line. That ball's going to get some depth, hopefully in the left center gap. And that's what we're looking for. And again, if she misses a little bit high, she misses a little bit low, that's okay. We feel like what we're creating is pretty powerful and pretty good bat speed. And that's one of the important things. When you're hard slapping, you have to watch your slappers to make sure that when that back foot crosses over to land in the front, that your hands are still back at that point. At that point, they should not be sliding forward. If they are, they're not going to be able to hold back on a changeup. And number two, they're going to have a hard time being able to get power. Want to make sure they're nice and connected with that back hip. So hard slaps. So I'm going to go ahead and start all of these videos here so you can take a look. On that first video, the girl's just turning on it here, and she's working a hard liner. She gets open. She recognizes that it's open. When she recognizes that it's coming in, we talk about turning that back hip a little bit harder because we're recognizing our hip is going to be what leads that barrel around. And so we want to make sure we turn hard and open up there. And I am definitely an advocate of hitting the ball hard on line to the right side, just as much as I am up the middle and just as much as I am to the left side. So if they recognize that they open up and they know the kid's coming in, or they're sensing it or something like that, or they want to work the ball to the right side, I'm okay with that. As you can see in the middle video, she doesn't get her barrel on plane. She's trying to bring her hands forward, and she doesn't get that barrel on plane early enough. That barrel should be on plane back here rather than as she slides down into position. And that's going to make a huge difference in her ability to hit that ball and get some lift on it if she wants to lift. And as you can see, she does a better job of that in that third video as you turn and watch her, because that's the same kid on all three videos. Gets that hip through, and then is able to drive that ball to the right side. Here's some more hard slaps. I'm going to play these videos for you so you can take a look at them. Again, just the kids that are being thrown inside, and they're just turning on this pitch. Turning. As you can see, that first one, that pitch is pretty low. If you look at the shoulder plane of my hitter, she drops that shoulder to get on plane to help that barrel get down there and to be there before that ball gets there. That's really important if she wants to get some lift on the ball. The middle one, she hits a ball about waist high, and she gets really good power. As she crosses over, those hands are back. She gets that hip through, and it brings that barrel around. And that ball is going somewhere. That ball is going to get her extra base hits here. And in that third video, it's a little bit of a different hitter for us. She doesn't hit as much for power, so this is something that she continues to work on. But again, just focusing on crossing over and then hands back and really working on getting through the ball. And she's doing a really nice job of it. Here we've got a fake drag to a hard slap or a drag. So you can really pretty much do anything when you work from a fake drag. You could do a hard slap, you can do a soft slap, or you can do a drag. For this, you're showing drag prior to your crossover. So as you think you're about to begin, you need to go ahead and show the drag in early on, because otherwise it's going to be too much movement. You want to make sure that whenever you do go back and you do cross over with that back foot, that those hands are back and then are able to get where you want them to again. So it's all a timing thing that you've got to get in place. So if you don't show it early enough, then you're going to have some issues. What's deceptive may not be that you're showing the drag early, but it may be what you're about to do after. They don't know if you're going hard. They don't know if you're going to bunt. And so all the sometimes that you're trying to do is create a false step with your defense. And so if you get them maybe creeping in a step or two and then you pull back and then they pause and wait and then you drag bunt again, then you're stopping them. They're going to start, stop, start. And that's kind of what you want to do, is you just want to mess up that rhythm. And so as you can see, you're going to pull hands back for good resistance, keeping your chest in. Your chest has got to be in to allow you the options of what you want to do, whether that's drag bunt, whether that's hard slap, or whether it's soft slap, or whether it's chop. And you can vary what you do so your defense can't guess. We're just trying to get them to pause or to overcommit. And so we'll show some videos here of some different things. That first one's going to be your fake drag to a drag bunt again. Does a nice job of just dropping it and placing it where she wants to. Even if a defender comes and gets that ball, that third baseman is going to have to come into the baseline, which is going to wreak some havoc, because then she's got to throw through the runner, which is difficult. And that next one, she comes back and pulls back into a hard slap. And so again, you just don't know what she's going to do, and being able to add that is important. However, again, timing is everything. And so she really has to think about doing that movement prior to her normal movements and what that might look like. So that takes some time to develop this particular skill. And some of your kids may never get to that point, but if you've got some kids who have the ability to do it, this is a pretty cool thing to add to that toolbox. So drag bunt. So here we're working on making sure that we put the ball down and drop it for a surprise, something that's going to challenge the defenders to have to make a play on the run. That's what we want to do. We want to get defenders to be confused about who's fielding it, and we want them to be scrambling to get it and then have trouble getting it up the line as much as possible. So your footwork has got to stay consistent with your regular slaps. If not, then you're going to struggle, because otherwise they're going to recognize what you're doing and they're going to creep and they're going to beat you. So that bunt's not going to be successful the way that you want to. You want to be nice and balanced at crossover. Make sure you've got good plate coverage. You want to control that barrel angle and how flat your barrel is. We like a good, nice, flat barrel for ours. And don't be afraid to show early, because I think that some of our own slappers here at Memphis, sometimes they are rushing out of the box because they're afraid they're going to get thrown out, when if they sit in there and place the ball where they want to, they're not going to get thrown out. So you have to build that confidence within and just kind of let them exercise it and show it so that they can really work on that concentration. And deadening the ball, you can do that by working more towards the end of the barrel. That'll help deaden the ball a good bit. So I'm going to show you some videos here. Just a nice soft touch. The first video, she works the ball to the right side a lot. She did a great job when she was playing for me with working that angle right there, just getting that barrel head out in front so that she can create that angle that she wanted to, and being nice and open to create that. The main thing with slappers when it comes to drag bunts is to understand that they can't control what type of pitch that they're getting. So they're not always going to get an inside pitch that they can take down first base line, but if they can take an outside pitch and then deaden that a little bit in front of the plate to where the catcher has to come out or the third baseman has to come in pretty far, they still can find success in doing so. So They just need to make sure they've got good plate coverage when they do it, and they work their angles, and they've got to exercise all of those things all the time. They can't just show up and expect for them to be able to do it. So we do a lot of pressure, competitive type stuff where they have to get bunts down the way that they want to. And we do a lot of this off machine, off live arm, and that kind of thing to put some pressure on them. Here's some more drag bunts for you to see. Just a couple soft touches here. Take a look at their vision. Take a look at their head, nice and still. Focusing right there. Crossovers are consistent with what you've seen in the other ones. Just nice soft touches. Okay, I want to talk a little bit about mental approach versus physical adjustments. So it's important to always have a plan. These are things that sometimes I have to feed our slappers with their plan and want them to be proactive and being able to solve their own issues and to create their own plans, but sometimes it's not appropriate. Sometimes they think, well, I just can't do this, so I'm just going to do this other thing. And so I always kind of check in to make sure that their plan is correct and that they have a plan at all. And sometimes that plan is going to adjust based on runners moving. Sometimes it's going to adjust based on defenses. It's going to adjust based on their strengths and weaknesses themselves. And so they got to take all of those things into consideration. We definitely like for our slappers to be aggressive. We want them to feel comfortable and confident. And so we want them to get their swings in. And so be aggressive. Don't be afraid. Adjust based on the defensive positioning, personnel, strengths and weaknesses, situations, conditions of the field. So again, I kind of talked about our field is pretty hard. So we're able to get a nice, good bounce. Sometimes we go play at other opponents' fields and those fields are a bit softer. So we may have to move to a hard slap or a bunt rather than a chop, something that we think we're going to get a high bounce off of. And so we have to change our strategy. Sometimes if we see slow corners, we're bunting all day. Sometimes if we see the fact that the shortstop's got a weak transition, a slow transition, we're going to work her to death. I don't care if the ball's hit straight to her, we're going to work her to death. If we find that people are playing in the 5-6 hole, we'll work the ball up the middle. And so not train your slappers to only hit in the 5-6 hole, but we should be training our slappers to work to the right side, working the ball up the middle, something that's going to take your middles away from the plate. So just understanding that you could do a lot of different things just based on those types of situations. Make sure that you're exercising proper vision. So I kind of keep alluding to that, but it's super important. If we're not seeing the ball, then they're not going to be able to track the ball deep, be able to do what they want to do. And so they've got to make sure that they are picking up the ball and getting to that place, and then also tracking it as deep as possible. We do some things where we do numbered plates, and we also do having to call out those locations after contact. I do a lot of different things regarding vision that I think can help any hitter. Two-strike approach, we use a timing rhythm for our two-strike approach most of the time. So we want to make sure that our slappers are making contact. We don't want them striking out. And so, you know, in those situations, we work a later rhythm, which means that instead of being normally where they feel like they're late, we work even later just to make sure that if we see something off speed, to make sure that if they jam us up, that's okay. We'll work a ball in front of the plate if we have to, if we can't get our barrel where it needs to be. Slappers are okay. They're accustomed to working with their barrel behind. And so just understanding that they could adjust that timing rhythm instead of being on time to be in a later rhythm. For some, we want them to take their chances with a two-strike approach and take their hacks. And so I think that's when you have to think about your personnel's strengths and weaknesses. If a kid's striking out a lot, then we need to be thinking about contact. If a kid is really good at contact, then maybe she can take a few more chances at taking a good hard cut from her slapping toolbox. Seeing out and adjusting in is kind of most of the time our strategy. So that way, if we get jammed up, slappers have enough speed to be able to make something happen, even if their barrel doesn't arrive. And so if they think in and then adjust out, they're probably going to pull their shoulder. They're probably going to open up too much. And then that may not leave for them to be at room for them to cover that outer half or something that's off speed and outside. So we would kind of like to think more about seeing outside and then working our vision in and just adjusting in. And then adjusting to the off speed physically. So we really try to delay that back foot. After you cross over that back foot, if you can drag that back foot in the ground a little bit to help delay, making sure that our chest stays in. And then also, again, making sure that as we cross over, that our hands are not creeping out in front, because if they are, sometimes that can cause a problem with being able to manage off speed. Reading the defense, I talked a little bit about that, but just talking about the different depths. So when you look at people's depths, see how deep people are playing to recognize if you should do something soft. Are they cramming me so hard that I should try to work something past them? But reading defenses is super important to what you do. And then again, you know, changing up what you might do at the plate throughout your at bat, it might be a good strategy as well. Sometimes you're going to see some shifts. You know, sometimes you're going to see a 5-6 hole open up, as I said, and sometimes you're going to see the middle. Sometimes you're going to see second base covering the steal with special defenses. Does the first base stay back? That can open up first base line all day for drag bunts. Our balls hit to the right side that are soft. And so it's really important that you understand what people are doing against you, because that can help you. Why feed the defense if you don't have to? And so being able to understand what they do, and then also recognizing what's in my toolbox, what can I do with what they're doing, then you should be able to find some really good success. You got to look at defense when it comes to their holes in their defense. Somebody might not be good to their backhand. They may not be good throwing on the run. There's been a couple defenses we've eaten up all day long because they can't make throws on the run, or when they do, they're slow, so they take extra steps. Well, if they're going to take extra steps, that's extra steps that we get down the line. So understanding people's range is important as well. And then just their overall level of communication. And so that's really important to it, because sometimes the communication is just poor. Sometimes special defenses can tell you what you're going to get pitched sometimes. So like if they play somebody in the 5-6 hole, you may be getting pitched out. You may understand that they may be pitching you to a certain direction. And so that might help you when it comes to figuring out how you might be pitched, so you can figure out what you want to do in the game against them. Situational slapping. So for us, clearly, like all of our slappers have different tools, and we want them to have a power option and one soft option, as I've alluded to also. Make sure that you master your skill set. Sometimes when bases are empty, I like for them to think about just reading their defense and sticking to their strengths. So if their strengths are hard slapping and drag bunting, then I want them to choose between the two. Or they might be able to mix both of them in the same at bat, and that's okay. Sometimes if they show a drag bunt, don't be afraid to go back to it again. Again, it's not necessarily always the element of surprise. It's how effective you are at your skill. If we have runners at first base, sometimes we're looking to do a couple of different things. We're looking to drag bunt. Sometimes we're looking to hit the ball behind the runner or to make the infield come in. So we may be hitting something to the right side. We may be soft slapping. Doesn't matter which angle, either towards shortstop or towards second base, depending upon where the ball is pitched. And then from there, we can just work the ball soft, make those fielders come in so that we can move a runner. Sometimes if we have a runner at first base, we work the chop, but we want to make sure that that ball is delayed in the air. You know, if you miss flat and you one hop the shortstop, that might be a quick out to second base, and we don't want to do that. We don't want the lead runner to get out. And then you can also hit and run. So for us with our slappers on a hit and run, we do a committed soft slap or a committed chop, where they have to make contact no matter what, just like you would with a right-handed hitter. So again, it just gets your hitter committed to the ball and making contact and putting the ball in play while getting a runner in motion. A runner at second base and or on third base. Keep it simple. A lot of times slappers in this instance try to do too much. And so if we can just tell them, treat it like it's empty, go to your strengths. Sometimes we might drag bunt in this situation, and then just let the runner at third base read it. If there's a runner at second base, clearly we're moving all day long, but we definitely want our slappers to feel confident in this situation and not feel like there's more pressure than any other situation. The bases are loaded, they got power options. So for us, we're hitting away, we're hard slapping, we're just taking our chances here to try to get the ball through the infield so that we can get some runners moving. Clearly, your base runners are going to have to be pretty cautious in case they hit a ball on the line, because they are being a little bit riskier and not being a strategist. So they're not getting to the top, they're hitting the back of the ball. and that kind of thing. So they may miss a little bit high, may miss a little bit low. But we definitely want them to go hard in these instances and take their chances. Runners at first and second, sometimes we'll do a drag. Sometimes we'll do a power option depending upon how confident we are. We've had some slappers, and we do have some slappers currently that are ranked in the nation in triples and doubles. And so for us, like, we feel like we were pretty confident in our ability to have extra base hits. So sometimes we might hard slap in this situation and get some depth. And there's other instances where we like to put a drag bunt down. So you can also move your runners by slapping to the right side. And so there again, what you practice is what you should be doing. Don't just show up and say, I want you to ball the right side if you haven't practiced that as part of what you want to see them do. And then adjusting to the count. So to us, like, when counts are in our favor and we're ahead, we're basically in control. So we want to hit the pitch that we want. We want outside. We want to go after outside. If we want to hit the ball deep and we're looking for something in, then we want to let the ball travel a little bit. We might allow ourselves to get jammed up a little bit and keep that barrel back to create the angle that we want to. And so, choosing your weapon in these situations is pretty awesome. I think our kids love to be in these situations where they're ahead. And sometimes they can anticipate pitches just based on being ahead. So they kind of know this kid only works across and her changeup's garbage. And, so for us, we ought to be able to, hit something that's going to be flat and it's going to be level, and let's go. There again, when we flip to a two-strike mentality, then we can be, we have to be a little less choosy. So not to be too picky in these situations. We want to work with what the pitcher gives us. And so we want to be good with our vision. We want to be able to see the ball. We want to see the ball well. We want to be short and efficient to the ball. Some people like to choke up. Main thing is in these situations to stay calm. We're looking for something that could be changes in speed. We're looking for good plate coverage. We're looking for contact. And that matters to me more than a big, huge, selfish swing, unless that's what I tell them that is okay to do. And so in these situations, like, I want them to do their job, and that's to make sure that they give themselves a chance to put the ball in play so that a defender has to field the ball, throw the ball, and then another defender has to be able to catch it. And they have to do that on time. And they would be surprised at the amount of success that they can have doing so. If you're looking to improve times, the box placement is one of the first ways to do that. Most of the slappers like to start in the back of the box, but the minute they slide that front foot back, they're not hitting anywhere but about the middle of the plate. And so I think it depends on your stride and your crossover. If you can gain a lot of ground in that crossover, then good for you if you can get to the front corner. So I would have them move up. That would be my first piece of advice as far as improving times. Secondly is continuous bat movement. So even if we stop through contact, from there, just being able to have some type of a small motion after that to kind of stay continuous so that we're not stopping, starting, stopping. We want to be pretty continuous at contact and then moving on after contact. Just releasing that bat and getting it out of our hands. Our body posture at contact definitely needs to be nice and stacked and balanced, because we find that if they're off balance and they have a hard time really getting that next step in and trying to find their balance to be able to get down the line. Eliminating the follow through, so keeping your bat from wrapping. So on some of those hard slaps and those big swings, once we get through extension, just being able just to shorten up that follow up or that follow through after that to keep that bat from wrapping all the way around and keeping us delayed and getting out of the batter's box. And so this is definitely a way to do that. Also running low to high, just coming out of that box, just initially like a little low and then working up. And then also making sure that we practice how we play. So just really being explosive, expecting them to come out of the box explosive, having them exercise that. So to make sure that they're exercising hard whenever they're practicing, making it realistic. I've got a few drills that I want to share with you guys before we wrap up. And so one is going to be to start in the crossover position. So that means that at this point, they've already loaded the quad. They've either stepped back and cross over, or they've pivoted and then crossed over. At this point, I want them already in position. We work inside, we work outside, we work angles to the left and angles to the right side. So we have moments where we're working that barrel out in front, and then we have moments where we're working that barrel behind, but still working the soft slap, the hard slap, and the chop. And so I'm going to play these videos so you can get an example of what I'm talking about. So here we're working the ball down in that first one. She's just working a nice soft slap. She's working that barrel to the top of the ball. Look at where her weight is. That weight is up over, as you can see, this gives you a better visual of the nose over the toe. And then that back one, she's working behind the ball. She's more positioned behind it and is working on getting that barrel on that shoulder plane. And she stays nice and through this ball here. She's not rushing. She's really kind of digging into that backside and allowing that to get through. So we work all from this position so they just kind of understand from this point what they need to do. You can see in the first video, the girl in the background, she's working to it, to that stopping point, and then completing what she's trying to do. Here, we do from start to crossover, then we pause, and then we finish. Again, we work hard slaps, soft slaps, chops. We work in, we work out, we work angles to the left side and the right side. So again, we're still trying to work all parts of our game. You literally could do one practice with just these types of things because you're working a ton of different things, or we isolate. So we'll say, okay, today we're working hard slaps and soft slaps, and that's it. And we're gonna work them from crossover, we're gonna work them from start to pause to finish, or we're gonna work them all the way through 100%. So you guys can get a chance to see these videos. So just kind of getting a feel for their footwork, body position, head, chest, making sure hands are back at crossover so that those aren't leaking out. And then from there, just working to feel those bad angles and their body position. You can see the video in the middle, she's working that ball the right side so you can see that barrel come out and around. She's trying to create that angle there. In that last video, you can see she's crossing over and then she works behind it. Crossover, works behind. And so right there, she's got that barrel on the shoulder plane, and that barrel's already on plane before she hits it so she can hit that ball on line. Here we work full slaps with an additional step just to make sure that they're nice and balanced when they work through their skills. So again, we've got soft slap, we've got hard slap, we've got chop. We work both in and out here. You've got the first two that are working in, and then that last video, she's working out. And so let's watch the first video for just a second. You can see she's working that soft slap right there to the right side. Staying in there, working those steps after, just kind of making sure that they don't bail, that they keep their weight where it needs to be. That middle one is more of like a chop here. Just hoping that angle that she's working is something she can get past the pitcher, hopefully. May not be, but definitely working that particular skill. She might need a little bit more of an earlier bounce at that same speed. And then that last one is a hard slap. So she's moving. You can see when she crosses over, hands are back, chest stays in, chest stays behind it, and that barrel is on that shoulder plane. It does not drop below. Those hands don't drop below that shoulder at any point. Bat lag drill for hard slap from the crossover position and also from full. So that means they're full slap. This is something that we've done for people who are struggling to get their barrel on plane the way they need to. I'm gonna let you watch a little bit, but as you can see, as they are in the crossover position in that first drill, that she works on keeping those hands back as she works that barrel behind. So she's not pulling her hands forward as she moves. Those hands stay back as that barrel works onto the plane of the shoulder and then back behind the ball. In that middle one, her chest opens up too early, so I want you to watch that. Her chest leads, and so she opens that chest up a little early towards the pitcher, where she should be working on keeping that in and behind the ball a little bit better. So because of that, she gets a little bit long and away. She loses a connection away from her body. And in that last one, she goes full on. So she goes from start, and then as she crosses over, when that back foot crosses and lands, those hands are still back. And that's important because she's trying to create some power there. And this is something just to work. If you have somebody that drops their hands a whole lot, this one may not be the drill for them, but this helps us understand bat lag and just understanding just about where we need to be as we cross over. Also, we set cones for early bounce and bunt locations, and also our slap path. And so you can do a lane where you want their footwork to go. You can put cones out for an early bounce for them. You can put a ball out. We also will work some heavy bats. So what they are working with right now is a heavy baseball bat. And so for them, when they're working hard slaps and soft slaps, sometimes barrel control is something that they struggle with. So by us using baseball bats that are end loaded, then they have to really work on maintaining a good connection. If they're real weak in their wrists and in their ability to maintain that connection, they're going to lose that strength, and which is going to cause them to drop hands or lose a barrel and that kind of thing. And so we want them to make sure that they feel that. So we'll use a baseball bat for both hard slaps and soft slaps. Bunt progressions. As you can see here, we work from 2 knees, where everything is just about isolating good flat barrel, just working the bunt down. The next thing that we'll do is from the crossover paused position. So again, you see the barrier in the batter's box. This is important, like that they work every single time with a barrier so that they know they're not stepping over that line. And then that third video, they're going full. So then they cross over and then they pause at contact. After that, we'll move into something even further. So you'll continue to see that. So you see from the knees in the crossover position, them stepping into the crossover position, and then they'll go full from there. For this other drill work, this is some challenging contact points. So we like to put the ball low and in, low and out, up and in, up and out. Probably nothing different than what you guys have done, but we want them, we know they're gonna swing at some of these pitches, so we wanna see how they manage getting their barrel on plane or keeping the barrel above if they have to, and how they do that with their shoulder, how they do that with their weight, where their weight is shifting. And so we get them to work some different things. So here she's working a hard slap and it's on a low pitch, and you can see that back shoulder get down to the plane of the pitch, and that helps her get that barrel down there. She looks nice and balanced. She's nice and strong right there. She's working with her barrier. Just working that, just feeling that over and over again. And then this other one here, she's working a pitch that's up and out. Here, you don't see her shoulder drop down at all. That shoulder can stay right there on that plane because that pitch is higher. So as she approaches, she's looking to keep it right there on that plane and still be able to hit that ball on line. Adjusting to off speed, some drill work that we do is that we work on front tossing. If we throw the ball middle to end, they're allowed to hit it. But if we don't, if we pause and don't throw the pitch, then they have to hit the ball off the tee. And that's just like adjusting to a pitch that we see that's causing us trouble and that causes us to be a little bit off balance. But when you do this, make sure you set the tee a little bit further out front because it's not going to be so deep anymore. So as you can see where the tee is in reference to the plate, make sure you work with a barrier. You can see that barrier set up just like you have in all the other drills. And so this is just a pretty cool drill to do where they really have to work. And if their chest flies, you're going to see it. If their hands slide forward too much at crossover, you're going to see it. And they're going to struggle to make contact with that ball on the outer half. That's supposed to be what is our off-speed pitch. And again, if we can just fight that pitch through the middle, or if we can fight good contact, that's our goal. That's our goal right there. Doesn't have to be exactly what you're looking for, but we're looking for contact. Here on the second drill is a laser tee. So we have a girl sitting behind her, and we use one of those little laser lights that lights up red. And all that she's gonna do is light it up on one of those balls once Sam starts her motion. And so as she begins, then Sam is looking out at her pitcher. She looks back in the zone of where the balls are. She picks up that red light, and then that's the one she goes after. What this keeps your hitters from doing is overcommitting either inside or outside or guessing. And so we don't want them to guess because sometimes with the inside pitch, they might open up a little bit more, or maybe they step in and across a little bit more for that outside pitch. And we don't want them to do that. We want them to be objective, not knowing what to expect. And then we've got a partner there doing some work to help them get a little bit better. This is a great exercise. Both of these drills are things that we think are pretty successful with our slappers. And that's it. So I definitely hope that what I've shared is beneficial to you. This is my email address. It's just natalie.poole@memphis.edu. If you get a chance ever to come out and come watch our slappers. It's definitely a part of the game that we take a lot of pride in. Really proud of the development there. And some kids that came to us that were really, had one tool, or two, but that were not very good, or kids who felt like they had a lot going on, but that were not that great at any of those things. And so for us, we want to be able to help grow their game again with something hard, with something soft, and then build out from there, but make sure that they're good at one of those things. I definitely wish you guys all the best of luck when you're training your slappers, and hope to see you out there sometime. Good luck.